Come join our family of 6 on our 2-week, 1,870-mile road trip in our modified Lance 2185 travel trailer from Utah to Arizona and back to see the Parowan petroglyphs, the Valley of Fire, Lake Mead and the Hoover Dam, Lake Havasu, Quartzsite, Friends in Phoenix, canyoneering near Tortilla Flat, Goldfield Ghost Town and Mine, Sedona, Arizona, the Grand Canyon, Horseshoe Bend, and the Coral Pink Sand Dunes before driving through snow back home. This is our first big road trip after all our modifications to make our travel trailer fully electrically powered by 2,650 watts of solar panels on the roof and 9.6 kilowatt hours of lithium iron phosphate batteries, as well as Starlink for internet connectivity. Click on the card above to watch the overview video of all our modifications, which enabled us to never use our generator or any propane throughout the entire trip. This was also the first trip with James, who was born 9 weeks before we departed. Being in February, we used our heat pump mini split for both heating overnight in below freezing temperatures in Utah and a little bit of cooling in Quartzsite, Arizona. Throughout the trip, we only boondocked on free public lands with one exception of mooch docking in a friend's driveway in Phoenix. Come join us while we explore beautiful new places and test the performance of our fully sun-powered travel trailer in the real world. In the prior episode of our Arizona Snowbirds trip, we arrived here at the Coral Pink Sand Dunes in southern Utah and set up our trailer in the staging area, which is in BLM land just north of the state park lands. The temperature outside was cold enough overnight to cause frost to build up on our solar panels, but that didn't slow down Lucy at all, who woke up and immediately went outside to explore our new sandy and cold campsite, just as the sun was rising. Back at the trailer, we got breakfast ready and pulled our winter coats out, getting ready to go explore the main area of sand dunes 2.5 miles south of our campsite. Good morning, girls.
Good morning.
How did you sleep last night?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Not too cold?
Not too cold. I was hot.
Oh, okay. Well, the sun is just about to hit us. You can see it coming down through the hills, and it's actually hitting the edge of this parking lot now. And the mini split has gotten the inside of the trailer up to 71.2 degrees at this point. It was down in the 60s most of the night. And outside it's 24.4 degrees currently. Then looking over here at the battery, it was at 32 at about 7 a.m. and I've had the mini split going full speed, so you can see it's pulling 1800 watts, and it's now 8, so about an hour later, and it pulled down the battery like 8%, so it can definitely do that really fast. We're just starting to get a little bit of solar, and the solar is about to ramp up really high. Hey Lucy, did you have a fun adventure?
Yeah. Shut the door.
What did you find?
Sand.
Yep, there is lots of that here.
When are we going to the Coral Pink Sand Dunes?
As soon as we're ready.
Wait, have you eaten breakfast yet?
Nope.
Oh.
How cold is it out there?
I was hot.
We have a big winter coat on.
And
It's
I have a sweatshirt
it's
on.
currently 34.7 degrees out there, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't know that.
How cold is that?
Hey James,
Above freezing.
what are you upset about?
He wants you to stand up.
Yeah, he does. We're just gonna eat breakfast and then we'll go out exploring. What are you writing, Lydia?
My name.
On your oatmeal packet? Okay. Well, our Starlink is not really working. I had it set up on the truck over there, and I had redirected it to this location successfully before we left our previous location, and now for whatever reason it just isn't working, and it says it's in an unexpected location, so I'm gonna have to double check where it thinks it is, because maybe it took that pointer wrong this morning or yesterday morning. I don't know. In any case, we're without any cell data or Starlink, so we're kind of flying blind as far as anything goes that we need internet for at this point. But we're gonna just have fun here and disconnect from it all, as some people say. What are you doing, Lydia?
Writing a sentence.
You're doing a math formula, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
2 minus 2 equals 0. Good job, Lyd.
And I did it over here and right here. But this one is equal.
This one is 1 plus 1 equals 2. Let's go back over to the truck and see if we want to go out to the sand dunes now.
Yeah, and I'm bringing my stick so I can write more sentences.
Okay. Typically during our adventures, we are out of the trailer by at least mid-morning to go explore, but on this day we are mostly chilling in the trailer as we waited for the warmer part of the day in the early afternoon. We are currently getting 2300 watts of solar. Just a moment ago it was 2350, and we're charging at 2133 watts to the batteries, and right now it is 12:20 p.m. So this is really high. This is some of the highest solar output that I've seen from our system yet, and we're in the middle of February. We're all in the truck, and we're going to go over to the main area of the coral pink sand dunes where they have an observation deck and where there are some really huge expansive dunes. And it's a little bit cold. It's about 42 degrees outside, so we'll see how long we last. But we're excited, huh, Lucy?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lydia's too. Claire, are you excited?
We've been waiting for this our whole trip.
Yes, this has been the #1 requested location on this trip, so let's do it. We are only driving 2.5 miles south of our trailer to the main entrance to the Coral Pinks sand dunes. And clearly this is off-season for this area because there is no traffic and only a few other people around. All right, here is a cool observation platform that they've built up over the sand dunes. And off past it is the main event of the sand dunes. During the summer, when there are a lot of people here riding on ATVs, it's all abuzz with their engines. Right now it's just cold. You girls are hard to catch up with. The sand is hard to walk in, huh?
Yeah.
We were here back in the summer last year, and it was very warm then. And now we're here when it's really cold. We need to come in the spring or the fall when it's comfortable. But the kids have been wanting to come back here ever since last summer. I'll put a card above to that trip when we were here. So we thought, well, even though it's kind of cold, we better come here. Because they wanted to come here more than anywhere else on this trip, including the Hoover Dam, including the Grand Canyon, the desert and the cactuses, Horseshoe Bend, everything. So here we are, and they're gonna have fun probably just fine. They already are. Are you doing it? You are. Good job, girls. Go, Lydia. There's the girls climbing up to the very top of this peak, where some people are using their snowboards to go down. Sorry about the wind, YouTube. It's real windy, and I forgot my microphone has the... Yeah, I know. Alright, keep going. Yeah. Edge is much more hard packed, so it's easier to walk on than where it's loose on the following on the backside. I caught up with you finally. So Jessica and James are coming after all. Let's see if I can point them out to you since this camera doesn't have zoom. You have these 3 people here. The one on the left looks straight up, and Jessica's right there. Go, Jessica! But it's a really cool view. I'll show you a 360-degree panorama right now. Look up Jessica right there. And where we are camped is way over in that direction, at the other end of the dunes. And Jesse and James made it! Yay! Congratulations! How's James doing? Can I see him a little bit? There he is. Snug as a bug in a rug. Lucy and Clara are coming back up, and Lucy's going to add a dead plant to her garden, which is right here, which I'll show you a picture of here on screen. It is so windy now. She's barefoot. She's having lots of fun. And her shoes Your shoes are in your coat, huh? There's Jessica and James and Lydia, and Lucy is down there. Well, we're done here at the coral pink sand dunes. The girls all have their shoes off and they're still fine with that somehow. We're gonna get the sand toys out and we're gonna play back over at our campsite while I get things packed up. We had initially thought we might spend 2 nights in this location, but the weather was changing for the colder and cloudier, and we had now seen and done all the things we wanted to do here. Also, considering we were only about 5.5 hours away from home, Jessica and I made an executive decision to go ahead and pack up and head home. Girls, are you enjoying your hot chocolate?
Yeah.
This hot chocolate was heated up courtesy of the sun through the solar panels. Too hot.
Yeah, because the sun's too hot.
It is a lot hotter than your hot chocolate. Yes, well, sometimes that happens because it's called hot chocolate. It is now 3:03 p.m. and the battery is up to 70%. We're still getting just over 600 watts of solar. It's really cold and windy outside for what it's worth. So at this point, we're going to be heading home actually, and so we'll be home tonight. Otherwise, we would have enough energy to get through the night. It would have to keep the mini split on less though, and to a cooler temperature. But yeah, we're going to head home, and this will be the conclusion of this 2-week long trip. So I'll continue giving just a little bit more information of the travel home, and then I'll do a summary when I get home. The total drive home was 282 miles, but we stopped after 110 miles to gas up the truck in Beaver, Utah. The roads between the coral pink sand dunes and Beaver were the steepest and narrowest roads of the drive, mostly on Highway 20.
I have mine here. Kirsty put her hand in her
There's a real steep road right now.
It was glowing with a soft golden light.
And of course, at the slow speed that we're typically going, we get passed on a regular basis.
The pot.
There's some beautiful light coming through those clouds over there. And down below us here is I-15. We're about to be on a straight shot on the freeway all the way back home. It's miserably cold out here, but the gas pump, we just paid $77, so we got 22.3 gallons. The price here is $3.45 a gallon.
Vanished in a fizz of fairy dust. Kirsty and Rachel flapped their wings and drifted gently to the ground. Rachel looked around, expecting to see all the colors coming back to fairyland.
The drive after Beaver was all on the I-15 freeway, which isn't as steep as the prior highways, but the weather took a turn for what I call less ideal. Luckily, it never snowed enough to begin collecting on the roads, otherwise we may have just pulled over somewhere along the way and camped out for the night. If you are interested in all of the GPS coordinates I saved throughout our trip to Arizona, I've created a Google map of them and posted that on my Patreon page, which I'll link to in the description below. We have just arrived home, and it's kind of a snowy, cold, wintry wonderland, some might say, but coming from warm Arizona, it's kind of miserably cold here, frankly. We just got the kids to bed, and I'm just bringing in some things from the truck and the trailer that I don't want out overnight below freezing. And I'm going to winterize the trailer real quick. And so anyway, I'll go back to my office later when I'm editing these videos, and I'll give some summaries of like the cost of the gasoline and things like that. But yeah, we're back home, and it was an awesome trip for exactly 2 weeks. Also, a quick update on the battery of the trailer right here. It ended up getting to 80% today over the course of the drive. This is the Victron monitoring portal that shows the electrical system of our trailer for that day, which was February 16th. And as you can see, they've changed the overall stats down to the bottom, whereas in the last video they were at the top. Victron has been updating this monitoring portal interface while I've been recording this series of videos, so I did not make those changes myself. In any case, this graph shows at an hourly granularity all of the state of charge information for the day on this blue line. And you can see that there's 2 diamonds, and those are showing the height of the state of charge and the bottom of the state of charge just for that hour, and then the round circle in the middle is the average. So over the course of the night, the state of charge was declining fairly rapidly. You'll note, as you can see with the consumption, which is these red bars, the consumption is indicated on this overlay at 0.36 kilowatt hours during that hour. So it was basically pulling 360 watts continuously throughout the hour. And then it jumped up over here to about 550 and that's probably when it was getting colder outside. You can see the power consumption is increasing, and notice there aren't any spikes because we've turned off the water heater by this point to conserve power. And then here is where we were waking up, and I turned the mini split up to warm it up inside, and we used a whole kilowatt hour during that hour. So that means we were pulling 1,000 watts continuously that whole hour, and then the next hour 820 watts. And we did warm up some water as well because we were making oatmeal for breakfast. So note that that's part of this energy. This is everything combined, not just the mini split. And then the solar production finally started to come into play, and so the battery kind of leveled out here. It bottomed out at 18% during that hour and stayed at 18%, and then started to increase during the 10 to 11 a.m. hour. And then the power production increased pretty nicely over the next couple of hours, but we've had more production in past times. There was some clouds that day and whatnot. And then later, and also we were exploring the sand dunes this point in the afternoon after this power spike here. We turned down the mini split, and so that was minimal power consumption. So the state of charge of the battery was climbing nicely. And then we were starting to drive as well later in this afternoon, and during the drive, the solar production dropped off. And so that's where the state of charge ended at the end of the day at 80%, and then declined just a tiny bit closer to the end of the day. So we consumed a total of 6.4 kilowatt hours that day, but it's not really a complete day since we stopped living in the trailer in the evening, and we got 8.9 kilowatt hours from the solar panels that day. Overall, this trip was a successful test of my goal to have a fully sun-powered RV, especially considering it occurred in the first 2 weeks of February, when solar power production is still not great. We never used our generator for electricity or RV furnace for heating. We did use lots of gasoline, obviously, to fuel our truck, 223.9 gallons to be exact. That cost us a total of $786 to drive 1,870 miles over those 14 days. I'm keeping track of these details so that someday when we have an electric truck, I'll be able to make an accurate comparison, and frankly, I'd be tracking these details regardless, as I have with all my vehicles most of my life. Clearly, if we had continued camping in Utah the entire trip, we would have had to use either our generator for additional electricity or propane to fuel our furnace, and potentially both. Heading down into warmer weather with better solar exposure was important this time of year in our climate up here in Utah. Our mini split can heat down to negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit, but it requires more energy than we get through the solar panels in the winter, plus it's not ducted to our water tanks. In a prior experiment, which I'll link to in a card above, the solar panels produced enough electricity on the shortest day of the year, which was fully sunny, to charge the RV batteries 51%. But heating the inside of the trailer overnight at around 65 degrees Fahrenheit typically requires 50 to 75% of the battery, depending on how cold it is outside. If we had stayed camped at the Parawan petroglyphs, where we stayed the first night of this trip, it was cold enough there that our water tanks would have begun to freeze eventually, probably after a couple of days, since 45 gallons of water has a significant amount of thermal mass. But the gray and black water tanks were nearly empty, so they would have frozen more quickly. We would have had to use the propane furnace perhaps once a day in the morning to heat up the water tanks. I could install heater pads on the water tanks and PEX lines, but we don't camp enough in the winter for me to bother with that at this point in time, since I can use the propane furnace if needed, or just leave the trailer winterized and not use the water system at all. I am very happy with the performance of our trailer's electrical system and appliances that use that electricity, but clearly there are limitations. The two biggest factors is the winter in general, because of minimal power production due to short days, the sun is low in the sky, and there's often cloudy weather, combined with the prodigious energy consumption of the heat pump to maintain comfortable temperatures in the trailer. The main limitation any time of year is camping in areas with lots of shade. In the future, when we have an electric truck, I intend to experiment with being able to supplement the needed energy in the trailer from the truck during the winter or in cloudy camping conditions. Obviously, in that case, we would need to charge the truck from an external source periodically. Conversely, in other situations, which for us is the vast majority of our camping experience, we'll be able to send excess electricity from the trailer to the truck. I'll have fun exploring new options that have never been possible before, because never before has the tow vehicle and all RV appliances been combined into one type of energy. Since this trip to Arizona, we've camped many more times in our trailer in varied circumstances, and I'll continue to publish videos showing how well it's performing for us and the varied experiments, such as when we powered 7 trailers for 4 days near the longest day of the year, or another trip where we camped in a shady spot for several days and had to really limit our power consumption to compensate for the low energy production. We also camped in Moab during the July heat wave of 2023 and really ran the cooling capabilities of our mini split through its paces with the trailer in full sun and ambient temperatures up to 104 degrees Fahrenheit and the mini split set to cool to 64 degrees Fahrenheit. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.